no goal.
Good morning, hockey fans, and welcome to the first edition of Off the Post. I'm your host, Kyle Savetic, and in this series, it's anything to do with hockey, but we're gonna right now focus on the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you're like me, you know that your bracket's just screwed. Alright, I think I got one right, and I think that was New York Islanders going over Pittsburgh Penguins. I think that's the only game series that I got right, and I think I had that game going to Game 7. It was ended up being a sweep. So right then and there, I should have known my bracket was going to get screwed. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it, and we're going to talk about Tampa Bay versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. And in this, it's going to be a brief overview. We're just going to go over their records, what they kind of did, just a brief history where they ended up in their respective divisions, and all that other stuff, to go over their record, and we're going to go game by game. And then I'm going to have what goal I think really ended up changing the course of goal or goals that ended up changing how the series went. And not all of them are the overtime winners. Not all of them are the last, not even the first goal, but you just kind of go over them. And then we're going to get into the talking about the goalies a little bit, what their stats were like. So going into Tampa Bay, they won the President's Trophy, so they have home ice advantage throughout the whole entire playoffs. First in the Atlantic Division, they were 62-6-4, have 128 points in the regular season. They tied the Red Wings of 95-96 in win record. Columbus coming in at second in the wild card in the East. They were 47-31-4 with 98 points. And you hear the same old. It's not about the team who is better. It's about the team who's hot prior, and that's just how the whole playoff series were. But the funny thing is, I remember, because I had Tampa Bay winning. I had Tampa Bay winning the Stanley Cup, and I got off the wrong. But watching that first game, I forget who it was. No, I'm thinking of a different game. We'll get into that one. But anyways, Tampa Bay goes in that game right off the first game at home. Bam, scores 3. Right? 3-0. Nothing to worry about. I'm like, yeah, this is over. It's all over. But what I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk, because this was in the first game. Lightning lost 4-3, right? But the goal that really changed, and I want to discuss this a little bit. The goal that changed the series was the first game. Nick Foligno gets a goal. It was the first goal that Columbus scores. Alright, so at this time it was 3-1. Okay, but this shows Vasilevskiy's actual how bad either Vasilevskiy is. I'm not saying he's obviously he is in the NHL, and he had the most wins out of all goalies and is up for the Vezina Trophy, which I think that's stupid. I don't think that the best goalie is always off of how many wins you get, because you can have a team that's great offense. You can, they can score 5 goals a game, and you can give up 4 goals a game, right? But that's beside the point. What ends up happening, right, is you see that Vasilevskiy doesn't really, he just kind of like, the puck went in. It's not that big of a deal. But there was 2 more goals like that that come in that ends up being like that. He's a lazy goalie, and it shows. It shows when you shut down an offensive team. It shows the true colors of the defense. I understand that Tampa Bay cruised through the whole year. They just cruised through the entire year. Okay? They come down to the playoff time. Columbus is trying to fight back. They're making their playoff run, this and that. And they get absolutely pummeled. Columbus absolutely pummels Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay doesn't really make a game out of any of these games, I would say, until game 4. I mean, game 3, all right, it was like 3-1, but Tampa Bay looked lost. They looked like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I feel no sympathy because, okay, I'm a Blackhawks fan, all right. I feel no sympathy for Tampa Bay. I did there for a little bit because I understand. I knew the pain. I know the pain of getting swept in the first round and something that shouldn't have happened, right? But I remember they were making fun of the Blackhawks for, oh, you got swept. Well, guess what? You lost 4-3. You lost 5-1. You lost 3-1, and you lost 7-3. Okay, you scored. What was that? 8 goals the entire playoff series, and you gave up 19. I'm pretty sure that Nashville game, Nashville Blackhawks, I want to say, you know, the average scores were 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, 1. You know, there were close games. You got handed to you. So all you Tampa Bay Lightning fans out there, you have nothing on the Blackhawks anymore. We beat you in the Stanley Cup Finals, and on top of it, you win the President's Trophy and you actually get your butts kicked. Okay, but like I said, Columbus scored 19 goals. Tampa Bay had 8. Sergei Bobrovsky, 4-0, 2.01 goals against, and a save percentage of .932. Andrei Vasilevsky, 0-4, 3.83 goals against with a .856 save percentage. Okay, you may think that, you know, having that kind of goals against, you know, you see it there, but the big thing is the save percentage. All right, when I bring up Mike Smith's save percentage and his goals against, it tells you how good of a goaltender is. Goals against mean nothing to me. Really, they mean nothing to me. It's the save percentage that means. The save percentage is on the goalie. The goals against is on the entire defense. Okay, that's how I see that. You have a .856 save percentage. That's not going to win you any games in the playoffs. It may win you games in the regular season, but that's not going to win you games in the playoffs, and it shows. Now we're going to move on to Boston and Toronto. Beautiful, great series. Boston second in the Atlantic. They were 49, 24, and 9 with 107 points. Toronto was third in the Atlantic bracket. They were 46, 28, and 8 with 100 points. You know, going into this, I may have picked this one right too because I had Boston winning. But coming game 1, Toronto wins 4-1. Game 2, Bruins win 4-1. Game 3, Maple Leafs win 3-2. Game 4, Bruins win 6-2. Game 5, Maple Leafs 2-1. Game 6, Bruins 4-2. And Game 7, you know, Bruins easily handle Toronto 5-1. And the goal that I had that was changing, what changed the series was in Game 7, Joakim Nordstrom. He takes this crappy shot. And, you know, right off the side of the post here in a bad angle shot. And Anderson, I mean, there's nowhere for that puck to go. There's nowhere for that puck to go. And Anderson lets it go in. All right. That's what changed everything right there. Because if that goal didn't happen, it may have been a little different. Because that just sucked all the momentum out of Toronto. That's a goal that Anderson shouldn't have given up. And he did. That's on him. And he has to take credit for that, and I think he might have, but, you know, going in back and forth. It was a back and forth series. So coming down to Game 7, it was either going to be one team or the other that was going to come out with it, and Boston prevails. And that's 3 times in the past, how many years? 4 or 5 years that Boston's knocked out Toronto. Toronto's got to get something going. I mean, they have all these players and nothing's going. You got Mitch Marner, you got Austin Matthews, there's a couple other. You had John Tavares, but you didn't see those production numbers. There was no production numbers. Out of these 2 games I talked about, the offensive production by certain players weren't there. And if you don't get the right formula to winning a playoff, To winning a Stanley Cup is having your goal scorer score, but also having those third and fourth line goal people score goals as well. And you didn't see that. I mean, yes, Boston had 23 goals and Toronto had 17 goals in this series, but it went to game 7. And I mean, it was close. There was a couple. I mean, there was only really one game that was really high scoring, as I should say. I mean, where both teams at least scored more than 3 goals. And that was in game 4. But, it was this was a good series to watch. I enjoyed it because they were heavy hitting teams. Emotional goals. Game 7, game 7 always they had what, three game 7s, and I love game 7s. They're great, especially in the first round, because you flip from one game 7, you flip to another game 7, and then the next day you have another game 7. I love it. I love every aspect of it, and especially when they go into overtime and when they go into double overtime. But going into the goalie stats here, Tuukka Rask, 4-3. 2.32 goals against and a save percentage of .928. Frederik Andersen, 3-4, 2.75 goals against with a .922 save percentage. You see in a trend here of what I'm really gonna disc on this Vasilevskiy guy because he's going up for a Vezina trophy just because he has wins. All right, but you see there, I think every goalie except Vasilevskiy all have over a .900 save percentage. All right, over a 900 save percentage. But I'm just speaking facts here. Yes, I am still dissing you, Tampa Bay fans, because you screwed my bracket up as well. Going into the Metropolitan Division, the division winners, Washington Capitals, first in the Metropolitan, 48-26, 8-104, versus the first wild card team, Carolina Hurricane, 46-29, 7 with 99 points. And it goes to game 7. And, these games were tight. I can't really say they were tight, because let me just go through the scores here. All right, game 1, Capitals 4-2. Game 2, Capitals 4-3. Game 3, Hurricane 5-0. Game 4, Hurricane 2-1. Game 5, Capitals 6-0. Game 6, Hurricane 5-2. And then game 7, in double overtime, Hurricane 4, Capitals 3. And it's what really shows in some of these games is the ability to fight through certain events. And a lot of these teams that beat these top tier teams are the highest seed teams would get a comfortable lead, or they would be up in a decent amount, and the grit, the grind from these lower seed teams showed to prevail. And now you're starting to see the downfall of these top teams that you're used to seeing, except maybe other than Boston moving on. But Washington Capitals, who was their hump? Who was the team they had to always get over? The Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins get eliminated, get swept. It's wide open. You gotta deal with New York Islanders, but that you're facing at this time. I mean, you have the Hurricane. You should easily have taken them, but these young players of the Hurricane found a way. And Justin Williams, I think that was a great key of getting him back. He was a great leadership role, and he assisted in the Game 7 overtime winner that McGinn had. And that's right there was my goal that changed the series. And yes, it has to be, because you clinch it. You come back being down 2-0, and then being down 3-1 to tie the game up, going to double overtime, and to have your captain get an assist, throw the puck across the middle of the ice into the crease, and McGinn sit right there and puts in the back past Holtby. And that's just beautiful. it was a great series, and this is how tight. Okay, when you look at the scores, they seem tight, and a couple of a blowout, right? A couple blowout games here and there. But Washington had 20 goals and Carolina had 21. So that just shows you how close the series actually was. A 1 goal difference decides this entire series. It's not like these games were like going back and forth, one team scoring 5 goals and the next team not scoring any. I mean, you had a 5-0 game, you had a 6-0 game, but it was both teams were scoring goals, is what I should say, and both goaltenders, even though you see these goals, but this just shows you the grit here, okay, and how tired I think Washington was and all this other stuff, because Brendan Holtby went 3-4, 2.68 goals against, a .916 save percentage, and Peter Mrazek is 4-3, 2.68 goals against, with a .895 save percentage. Both of them combined with 1 shutout. As I said with Vasilevskiy, I said, if you don't have a good save percentage, that's going to be on you. But Mrazek he has a shutout. He had a shutout, so there could have been a couple games where he had a bad night. And Carolina had to find a way to beat Holtby. They had to find a way to beat him, and also find a way to not let Ovechkin, Backstrom, and all of them score goals. They suppress that. Peter Mrazek comes out. They win. All right. Moving on to the New York Islanders. 48, 27, 7, 103. Facing Pittsburgh Penguins. 44, 26, 12, 100 points. Islanders second in the Metro. Pittsburgh third in the Metro. Clean sweep. Game 1. New York Islanders 4. Game 2 in overtime. Game 2. New York Islanders 3, 1. Game 3, New York Islanders 4, 1. Game 4, New York Islanders 3, 1. Pittsburgh, you had no offense. Sidney Crosby, I think, had 1 entire point, possibly, the entire series. And I think it was an assist. It wasn't even a goal. He had no goals. No goals at all. There was no production from any of them. Nothing. It was a total onslaught of getting destroyed. Robert Lennon played out of his mind. Matt Murray, even though he gave up his averages 3.01 goals against, his save percentage is still .906 as a save percentage. He had to play well. I mean, Matt Murray's not a bad goalie, but I still think Pittsburgh's kicking themselves for not keeping Marc-Andre Fleury. Because Marc-Andre Fleury is still good, even though Vegas lost, and I'll get into that game and that whole debate there. But that's the big thing right there is Matt Murray. What I'm saying is the New York Islanders go from dead last in the league in defense to being first. You always, no matter what it is, if your team's scoring goals and your defense plays well, what's the saying? I want you all, if you know the saying, I want you all to say it with me. Right? Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Right? New York Islanders are my new favorite to win the cup, just based off of their defense. Okay? And I know I said I would take Tampa Bay, but I just thought Tampa Bay's offense was just... It was just spectacular. I mean, to win all those games, to have those points, to run away with the league, I just thought they were unstoppable. And they found out that they're mortal, right? But really, what it really was was I had for my goal that changed the series was Jordan Eberle answering Pittsburgh and New York answering for had him, but really it was game 1, New York Islanders ended up having to score 2 to get 1 because one was called back for offsides or whatever that debate there was. But game 2, 3, and 4, Pittsburgh scored first, right? Pittsburgh scored first, and New York Islanders bounced back and they score. And they score multiple goals and end up winning. That's how that runs out, basically. That's how that runs out. Going into the Western Conference, and I'm more of the Western Conference guy. I'm a Blackhawks fan, so I know more about the Western Conference than I would the Eastern Conference, and that's why I kind of went through the Eastern Conference. I mean, I spent 20 minutes on the Eastern Conference as it is. But going to the Western Conference, Nashville, Dallas, Nashville first in the Central, Dallas first in the wild card. Nashville 47-29, 600 points. Dallas 43, 32-7, 93 points overall. This went to Game 6. Game 1, Dallas 3-2. Game 2, Nashville 2-1 in overtime. Game 3, Nashville 3-2. Game 4, Dallas 5-1. Game 5, Dallas 5-3. Game 6, Dallas 2-1. And this was a battle, really, of the goaltenders. Except that Game 4, it was the battle of the goaltenders. Every game except one that I see on here that I'm reading over. Actually, I should say, Cash said there's two games here where it's not decided by one goal, right? And the goals for both teams. Nashville had 12, Dallas had 18. All right, that's still a pretty low number for going to Game 6. That's a low number. You know, I understand that, you know, Carolina and Washington had just a bit over 20, but that's still pretty, you know, it's Nashville only scoring 12 goals, and that's what kind of hurt them there. They didn't have that offensive power that they thought they would have had from Johansson, from Subban. Simmons, I guess not having Simmons kind of hurt them. That kind of sucks. They trade for him, and he gets knocked out. But what it came down to was John Klingerman in OT to seal the deal for Dallas in Game 6, and they move on. That's an overtime goal that, you know, Pekka Rinne should have had. I think there was a couple that Pekka Rinne should have, and he didn't end up winning it. You know, I just think it, after taking a stupid amount of shots or so on and so forth, that kind of, you know, ends up happening. But when you're facing a goaltender, right, Ben Bishop right now, he was 4-2 with a 1.89 goals against average with a .95 save percentage. You are going to have to be a mastermind to get through them. Yes, they went to Game 6, but Nashville didn't score over 3 goals. While Pekka Rinne was 2-4 with a 3.09 goals against average with a .905 save percent. Right? That right there, if you have a goaltender and you have a defense that's playing well and you're playing gritty, you want to win games, that's how that's done right there. Right? Simple as that. Moving on. Winnipeg Jets versus St. Louis Blues. I had Winnipeg winning this. I thought Winnipeg would have enough grit and grind to, at least I had them making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Just because the way I saw them play, they came back from adversity most games throughout the year, and I thought they would pull it off, but they didn't. But they were second in the Central. St. Louis was third in the Central. 47-35, 99 points for Winnipeg. And St. Louis 45-28, 99 points for St. Louis. Game 1, St. Louis 2-1. Game 2, St. Louis 4-3. Game 3, Winnipeg 6-3. Game 4, Winnipeg 2-1 in overtime. Game 5, St. Louis 3-2. And Game 6, St. Louis 3-2. And in this one, if I'm not mistaken, every road team except that Game 6 ended up winning. But the goals for Winnipeg were 18, goals for St. Louis was 16. And it shows that you don't need to score the most goals. You need to score the right amount of goals at the right time. And you're and Benning, I you know, Benning right there. He had some criticism. I guess he got a lot of criticism for Game 3, but he actually played really well. I remember him getting a lot of criticism. Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, I thought he was gonna play he did play decently. I mean, he had a better save percentage than Benning did. And I thought he was gonna be the main difference, and it ended up not being the difference. It ended up being that St. Louis might have figured him out, and I think that's something that happened. But going to Connor Hellebuyck's stats here, he was 2-4, 2.67 goals against average with a .913 save percentage. Jordan Benning was 4-2, 2.63 goals against with a .908 save percentage. What I saw as the goal to change everything was a late goal to put a chokehold on Winnipeg was Jaden Schwartz there in Game 5. And that's what it came down to, was Winnipeg was in a desperate time, and I believe in Game 6 Winnipeg was even winning at one point, and St. Louis comes back and wins. It's like, yeah, get out of here. But now moving into the Pacific Division, you have Calgary, who has home ice advantage through the Western Conference Finals. They're first in the Pacific. They're 52, 25-7, 107 points. Colorado, second in the wild card spot. Like I said, with that triangle of log jumping, except Colorado kind of pulled away there at the end. The Hawks blew their chance. Minnesota, I don't know what happened with them, but they were 38-30 and 14 with 90 points. And I guess everyone did make it at least 90 points this in the playoffs. And starting everything out, right? Calgary wins 4-0. And you're thinking to yourself, all right, that's too easy. It's too easy. Colorado, Calgary, their offense was really hot with, they have, Tkachuk. Who else they got? Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, that whole stupid debate thing there. But they have these offensive power, and they have Mike Smith, who played out of his freaking mind. What game was it? Was it Game 4? I think it was Game 4. He faced over like 50-something shots. He faced a lot of shots, and he stopped a lot of them. And I don't put that series on Mike Smith. I put that series on the offense. And when you look at it, Game 1, 4-0 Calgary. Game 2, 3-2 Colorado. Game 6, 6-2 Colorado. Game 4, 3-2 in overtime Colorado. Game 5, Colorado 5, Carolina 1. Or not Carolina. Calgary 1. And that Game 5 doesn't do Mike Smith justice, because I think there was a couple empty netters here and there, but I think Calgary just said, enough is enough, we're screwed, okay? But what really changed everything was Mikko Rantanen in Colorado, and they win in an overtime game that Mike Smith that was faced a stupid amount of shots that he couldn't do anything with. But now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into Mike Smith's, look at his record here. He was 1-4, 3.20 goals against with a .91 save percentage and 1 shutout. And I think, did Robert Leonard? There was a couple that had shutouts I might have missed. Philip Grubauer, 4-1, 1.90 goals against, .939 save percentage. And if Colorado really makes a run in the playoffs, it's gonna be because of Grubauer. Grubauer, I watched this kid play a lot, especially this year, and he's good. He's gonna be one of those top tier goalies that you're gonna see. He's gonna be up there with the goalies you want to watch out for. I believe the goals in this series, Calgary had 11 and Colorado had 17. So it was a pretty, it was a low scoring. I mean, there's going to be a couple games where it's high scoring, but it was pretty, low scoring relatively. Now, I want to get into the San Jose Sharks, Vegas Golden Knights. All right. This is a series to remember. I had Vegas winning, okay? And San Jose comes out of the gate, right? Game 1, 5-2. Vegas comes back around, game 2, 5-3. Vegas, 6-3. Vegas, 5-0. Right? Game 5, San Jose 5, Vegas 2. Then the double overtime, the great double overtime. Right? That was, I loved it. I loved that game, that overtime. I gotta I was just kind of looking at something real quick. First round. But really, Vegas should have won this. And when we're getting into the controversy, so we'll go ahead. We'll get into this controversy here. Oh, also in Game 7, it was an overtime. San Jose 5, Vegas 4. Okay. What I want to discuss and what I want you to leave in the comments down below or tweet at me, was this deserving of a 5-minute major, or was it deserving of a penalty at all? I didn't see the initial hit because I'm at this point it's 3-0, little time left. I'm looking down at my phone. I look up, and next thing I hear them talking about there's blood on the ice. This guy's down. Blah blah blah. So when they didn't show what was happening prior. They waited till after commercial break and they showed. As soon as I saw what happened, I said, 1, he's gone. Eakin gone. 2, he should have never done that. And I said in my head at that point, if they lose this game, Ikonen, he's gone. You don't know. He's gone. You do not allow someone, and when you're up 3-0, to let your emotions get that bad. Right? Yes, it's Game 7. You're at San Jose, so they're probably chirping, trying to get under your skin, and guess what? You got under your freaking skin, and you get a game misconduct, you get a 5-minute major, and you put your team at risk. I don't mind that call because it was a cross-checking into his freaking throat. Now, you may disagree with me. You may say, well, it shouldn't have been that harsh, and I understand that the refs didn't raise a hand, they didn't raise their arm, they didn't do anything like that. It should have been a penalty right off the get-go, and the league needs to look into those refs and say, they were calling penalties all freaking night. What Game 7 was it prior? Oh, God. I forget who the team was that was prior, right? That Game 7. Those refs didn't call freaking penalties in like the third period. These refs are calling freaking power plays left and right. Like, it's a Game 7. You gotta let them freaking play. Like, come on. Let them play a little bit. It's Game 7. Make it more entertaining. We don't need to see... I don't like it when a game is decided by the power play at all. Okay? Late power plays are good and bad at the same time, but when it's Game 7, you should be calling all those freaking penalties. Okay? Just let them play. All right? They're playing for a reason. We don't want to see the refs step in and say, "Oh, no. Yeah, you barely touched them. You get a penalty." Okay, but then you see this cross-checking him go down, right? They don't raise the hand until after they see the blood and see him on the ground. That needs to be looked into. The league needs to look into that, and I think they need to be better well trained, or they need to have a discussion. And was it maybe the right call on the ice? Yes, but if you don't raise your hands initially, I don't think that you should blow the whistle and have time to think about it, because everyone, your mind, right? You can see things that your brain, your eyes see one thing, but your brain tells you another thing. Okay, you can't let that happen. You can't let it. The referees decide, oh well, there's blood on the ice, he's hurt. But did you all really see it? Well, I did see this. I'm not saying they didn't see it right, but if you don't call it initially, say if he would have just gotten up and went off the ice, he was dripping blood or whatever the case may be, just gets off the ice. Vegas wins that game easily. But he's laying down on the ground. The greatest thing, I was listening on the radio today. They were talking about the game, and they said it should have been a 5-on-3 because one of the Vegas players shoves the San Jose player into the ice. And I'm like, you idiot! No, you don't do that, because he fell back on top of him and drove. No, it was just that was just a funny story. To me, that was funny that I had to discuss. I feel bad for Marc-Andre Fleury. He played absolutely phenomenal. Martin Jones, yes, he played phenomenal, but going into that overtime, really what it was that sealed the fate for Vegas was losing that double overtime. That's what really sealed the deal for them. That's what it was the double overtime. That sealed the deal for them. And yes, they were up 3-0, but then, San Jose scores. It was unbelievable because, San Jose scores 4 goals in 5 minutes. Vegas comes back, ties it up. They go into overtime. San Jose wins. It was just, I was like, I really need to go to bed because I need to wake up early in the morning, and it's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm still watching this freaking game. Actually, it was more 12:30. I'm Central Time, so it was more like 12:30. But still, great game. Sad to see. That was the one series I was really looking forward to because I knew it was going to be a good series, and I was glad they went to Game 7. I was glad that we got back-to-back double overtimes there. But I mean, when you look back at it, it was just a high-scoring, high-scoring, and I don't mind high-scoring games, but when it happens all the time and both teams are scoring high goal, it kind of gets repetitive. I mean, it's not like the games were 5-4. I mean, a couple of them were 5-3. The last game was 5-4 because it went in overtime. But I'm more of the suspense kind of person. The game can go 0-0 into 3 overtimes, and I would still find that game more enjoyable than a game going 10-10 or the game ending 10-11 or whatever the case may be, because I like the unexpected. Okay, I don't like, okay, well, this puck's going in the back of the net because both goalies are deciding that they're just gonna smoke a joint behind the net and not worry about anything. But going into Martin Jones' stats, he was 4-3, 3.20 goal against average, a .904 save percentage. Marc-Andre Fleury 3-4, 2.70 goals against average, and a .909 save percentage, and he also had 1 shutout. But I enjoyed it. It was a good first round. Took a very long first round, I would say. I mean, 3 Game 7s. That's, especially you have 2 sweeps. 1 goes in 5 games, the rest go in 6. So I would say it was a very even matched sort of playoff season year. I think that the underdogs really came out and stepped it up a notch and say, yeah, we're underdogs, but we are also top dogs, so we're going to take out the top guys. So, I mean, everyone's bracket's probably just destroyed. But we're going to go ahead and in the first round, the top goal scorers were Mark Stone, Logan Couture, and Thomas Hertl at 6. Top assist man was Erik Karlsson at 9. Top points person was Mark Stone at 12. best plus minus Alexander Radulov is +7, and best goals against average was Robin Leonard at 1.47. Best save percentage was Robin Lennon at .956. Shutouts from Mrazek, Holbeat, Fleury, and Smith. Looking into round 2 matchups, Columbus versus Boston, Carolina versus New York, Dallas versus St. Louis, and Colorado versus San Jose. And then from what I'm picking, I'm going to be very quick and short and simple. Who's moving on? Boston over Columbus. Just due to having a sweep against Tampa Bay and not really facing a goaltender that is of any, I don't like basketball. He didn't prove that he was a good goaltender. In this series, it did not show that he was a good goaltender. But Tuukka Rask is a good goaltender, so that's going to be interesting to see when they face a higher tier goaltender. But moving on to the New York Carolina game, I don't know at this point, because Carolina and Washington, that was the last game I was waiting before I could do this. I'm doing this right after the game, and at this point I'm like, I really don't know who I'm gonna take. I'm taking New York just because of their defense and their goaltending. Now, Carolina may have that grit, but I just think the defensive virtue of New York is just going to overpower them, and you're going to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. But moving into the Western Conference, Dallas over St. Louis, I'm taking Dallas in 7, and Ben Bishop is going to be the key factor here. It's a older goaltender and a new guy. It's just going to depend on how that's going to go. San Jose over Colorado, 7 games coming off of a 7. I'm picking that in 7 games. Coming off a game 7, finding a way to win, even when they don't deserve to win, and Colorado being a bit cold versus a very hot San Jose team. You remember what I said? Playoffs are about the teams that are hot. San Jose finds a way to win, come back. They got that momentum. They're going to be at home again. The people in the Shark Tank are going to go crazy. All this other stuff. It's going to be a great second round, and I can't wait for it to start today. Looking at it, who is, I believe, the first round is, you're looking at game 1 today, Columbus at Boston, then you have Dallas at St. Louis. So that's going to be a very fun beginning off of things. I can't wait for the second round, but that's going to cut things off here. What we're going to do is, once a series is over, I will break it down in the depth, and then we will have a brief overview more of what I saw from the playoff series and kind of talk more about the overall playoffs of how everything turned out. We'll still get into the second round, best stats, all that. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at KSavedic. And share with your friends if they're interested in hockey and a bit more. Have questions, comments, concerns down there below also, so we can discuss more things, try to make things more entertaining. Just let me know. But like I said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this, and hopefully catch you in the next